I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. I just want to take a moment because we are going to live stream and send this out to all of our students out there at Civic Leadership. So make sure that we have access so everybody can take part in this great event today. But good morning, students, members of the media, esteemed guests. We want to welcome you all here to the CREC Civic Leadership High School. Our mission here at Civic Leadership is to foster students who are engaged in their communities. Through our unique coursework, students can earn recognized public safety certifications not available at any other high school, while completing a rigorous college preparatory program. Our semi-annual public service days, which we just had our first this past Monday, provides opportunities to put learning in action. Each CLHS student engages in over 50 hours of real community service during their time here at high school. Our graduates leave CLHS as leaders. They are engaged members of their communities, and they are prepared for life after high school. That's why it is so pertinent that we are rolling out this important program here. I now have the pleasure of introducing the Connecticut Education Commissioner, Charlene Russell Tucker, to the stage.
Thank you, Jeff, and it's so awesome to be here today. The big smile on my face is because today is the day we launch Giving Students a Say in Education Funding. Let's hear it for that. I mean, that really is awesome. So it's so great to be here, and I want to thank CREC Civic Leadership High School for welcoming us here today, and for all our dignitaries that's in the space. I'm so thrilled that our Vice Chair of our State Board of Education, Erin Benham, is here. We have a student member of our Board of Education, Natalie, who's here, and you'll hear from her later. Thank you to our principal, Tim Sullivan, our superintendent, is here. Jeff Flory, the head of CREC, is here, and others. I know Senator is here, and others. And so we're just so thrilled that you're here so that we can launch this. Voice for Change, right? And I'd like to say this is a student's Voice for Change, this exciting initiative that puts $1.5 million in the hands of high school students across Connecticut, right? That is just an awesome thing for us to be able to do. On our next slide, so what is this Voice for Change? It's a first-of-its-kind initiative. We're the first state in the nation to give students statewide a say in education funding. And that's, as I said before, $1.5 million putting that into their hands. Our goal is to model civic engagement and budgeting skills that you can use in life, right? And you can use after graduation, which is why it's so great that we're able to be here at this school today for this announcement. There is some timeline. So when we think, going back to the slide, we're investing $1.5 million. What will you be doing? Crafting a proposal for spending up to $20,000 in your school, making sure that it follows some guidelines that we've set out for you. You'll be able to campaign for your proposal amongst your peers in your school, and then your peers will vote to bring the winning proposal to life, right? So you'll get a chance over the course of some months here to be able to do this and get your proposal to life. So we're really excited. A little bit more about Voice for Change. So some timeline. There are a few deadlines along the way, so here's just a brief overview. We're going to help you to do that. We're going to help our students by putting together some webinars so we can provide questions, we can provide answers to questions. Then on the 29th, the proposal submission opens. And then you have all that planning to do. March 11, 2022, we'll finalize the announcement and bring that to life, which will be a full year when the American Rescue Plan proposals came into being for the country, for us in the state. So we're really excited about the ability to share that with you. And we'll give you some more details around the timeline. But let's see, what will you do? One of the things that we did when all the resources came, the American Rescue Plan dollars came to the state, we set out as a state 5 priorities for how the fund should be invested, not just at the local level, but also the resources that we have. So learning acceleration, which we know was so critical. How do we work with our students based on any lost learning and learning recovery that needs to take place? So learning acceleration was one of the priority areas. Family and community connection, another critical area for funding and for investments at the local level. And again, these are the areas that your proposal will need to fit in order for it to be accepted. Supporting mental health of students and staff, again, so critically important as we think about our students and not only students but staff. Making sure that you can engage in academic learning means that your own social emotional well-being needs to be met. So that was a funding priority. Strategic use of technology we recognize was so critically important as a funding level, as well as safe and healthy schools. So your proposal would need to fall into one of those areas, one of those priority areas. We've given you and will continue to share with you some ideas of questions that you may want to consider as you're thinking about a proposal. So for example, under learning, you could be saying, how can you reimagine a program currently in place or implement a new one to spark learning? So as a student, what resonates with you as you think about that particular question? Or you may say, how can you enhance an already existing program to reach students disproportionately impacted by the pandemic? If you have an answer to that, so your answer to that will fit in learning acceleration as a priority area. So those are examples. I like to look at the example of also for mental health of students and of staff. Here's a probing question for you. What impactful changes can be made, or what resources or spaces can be available in your school community to support student and staff? The answer to that could be a proposal. What programs are already in place that could be reimagined? The answer to that, right, could be a proposal. You get the idea here, right? So your proposal will need to fit in one of those priorities, and those are just initial probing questions that you can begin to ask as you're thinking about what kind of a proposal that you need to submit. Again, we'll share more details with you for the webinars that you will be participating in. So what's the next step? Begin by brainstorming possible proposal ideas, and just for a teaser here, I'll ask you, at our roundtable, whether you've already started to think about what proposals you could put on the table. Attend one of the overview seminars and Q&As that we will be putting together and supporting you, crafting your proposal, and of course submitting it by the deadline, which is really important. We are there to support you. We're there to make sure, and like all the federal resources that we're receiving, there's accountability. So we'll be checking to make sure that everything meets the criteria and that the resources will be spent appropriately as we're monitoring all those funds as well. So really important. We have 43 districts that have opted in. So we gave districts the opportunity to opt in. They've got a lot on their plates. So we said, you choose to opt in. 43 districts opted in, representing 77 of our high schools in the state, representing over 55,000 students. So I can just imagine how maybe competitive this may be within a school building, but it's all good because you're working together. You can do this individually or you can work as a team in putting this work together. So we're really excited to give you, this is investing in you, a voice for change, to think about how can we spend the resources to support what it is we know really matters for you in education, and you're a part of the reimagining process. So this is a student voice for change. Stay tuned for the educator voice for change, and even for family and community voice for change. Just a teaser because we're still working that out, but it really is important that we're all working together as an ecosystem to support all of you. And so that's the takeaway today. All of us here, the governor, our senators, we're all here to support you in your learning, and so we're really thrilled to give you a voice for change. There's a website that's set up that you can go on to get information. There's an email address there for you to send information to us as well. So that is just a really brief overview of our Voice for Change, which we're so thrilled to be launching today to support you. So thank you very much. I think before I turn it back to you, that Senator, I think you have a few words that you'd like to say here. We'll hear from the governor later.
Well, I want to thank the governor and the commissioner for asking me to say a few words. Believe it or not, once upon a time, my first calling was education, and I went to the University of Connecticut and got a degree in secondary education and did my student teaching at Coventry High School, but I wasn't really ready for the real world, so I continued along a different path. But I find this exciting. I actually leaned over and whispered to the governor, this is really cool. For a variety of reasons. How would I go about this if I was one of the students, whether in this school or anywhere else in the state of Connecticut? And I think we've just been through this pandemic, and we've had to overcome hurdles and deal with difficulties in our lives and do different things and think of things differently. And so if I was a student as the first line in this program, and it's really exciting knowing that educators and then parents and guardians and grandparents will get involved as well in the few weeks ahead. I wouldn't think about the money and how do we access the money. I think about what did I, myself, and my friends have to overcome or deal with. And I would think about that, and I would talk about with my friends and brainstorm, and then look at the categories and see if any of those things meet the categories. And how could you maybe remedy some of that or help people in addressing some of those things? And you'll probably find things within your own heart and your own life experiences that fit more than one of those categories, and it'll be a difficult decision into weeding it all out. And then when you discover what problems you want to fix, then you can see how the resources being allocated could help remedy that. I'll conclude with this. Once upon a time, the Lieutenant Governor, Susan Bisowitz, when she was Secretary of State, reached out to me when I was Senator, and she put me on a special working group to try to excite young people to go and vote. And we came up with different ideas. I'd like to believe that this program also, as you come up with ideas and programs and proposals, and you go and you talk to your fellow students and you try to win them over so that your proposal can win, will get you excited about the whole democratic process and voting. And as you realize, it's a microcosm of what we're doing out here throughout the state of Connecticut, myself, Representative Arnone, our new mayor, Robert Crissati here in Enfield, and so many other public servants, that we do this on a day-to-day basis, fundamentally because in our heart of hearts, we want to just make life better for those whom we serve. And so with that, you're going to learn a lot. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I certainly could use as much information regarding personal finances as humanly possible, so that's a good life lesson as well. But I really am excited, and I will underline, this is really cool, Governor, and I think this is a fabulous initiative. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Commissioner. We here at Correct Civic Leadership are incredibly excited for this innovative participatory budgeting program. So excited, something that we've already done some real work on. So at this time, what I'm going to ask is that all of our panelists please head up to the stage to your seats. Yep. So again, thank you, Commissioner. We're excited about this participatory budgeting program. And here at Craig alone, we have 5 high school, and I know all those principals are so excited to have a chance to be a part of this program. You know, capturing students' voice and empowering them through education is what we do here at Civic Leadership on a daily basis. And we're going to take some time this morning to hear from just some of those students and their ideas in this program. So I have the pleasure to have at the stage Governor Ned Lamont, Commissioner Charlene Russell Tucker, the CREC Superintendent Tim Sullivan, our student board members of the State Board of Education, Natalie, our CREC student panelists. I have Naeem Brown, Kalina Hernandez, Agnes Abraham, and Jabril Akbar. Now, Governor, on a side note, you might want to talk to Jabril about his campaign slogans. He won the senior class presidency with his campaign slogan of "Keep it real, vote for Jabril." So, welcome panelists, and let's start off. I know I just introduced everybody here, but I want to give all of our panelists a chance to say where they're from and their names, and also I want to talk about protocol. If you feel comfortable when you are speaking to take off your mask and speak into the mic, by all means, and then you can return to your mask afterwards, okay? We want to make sure that we stay safe the whole time that we're here, okay? So why don't we start here? Naeem? And it can come right off the stand, guys. There you go.
Hi, my name is Naeem Brown, and I'm from Bloomfield, Connecticut.
Hi, my name's Kalina Hernandez, and I'm from New Britain.
Hi, my name is Agnes Abraham. I'm a senior from Glastonbury.
Hi, my name is Jabril Akbar, and I'm a senior from Hartford.
Hi, Tim Sullivan, the superintendent of the Craig Magnet Schools.
Hi, my name is Natalie Bandura. I'm a senior at Staples High School in Westport.
And we've met Charlene Russell Tucker, Commissioner.
And Ned Lamont from Hartford.
All right, and I'm Jeff Larson. I'm the principal here at Civic Leadership. And so thank you for coming out today, but let's dive right in. Let's start a discussion, talk about civic engagement. I'd like to begin by asking each of you, how are you involved in your school community? And if applicable, how are you involved in communities outside of school? So let's switch it up, and we're going to welcome Natalie. Natalie, you okay leading us off? Go ahead.
Hi, so my biggest involvement in the school community specifically is I'm editor-in-chief of Inklings, which is Staples High School student newspaper. And that is a big example of civic engagement, because civic engagement is not only participating in the political system, it is reporting on the political system, on school policies, on state policies, getting engagement, raising awareness of issues that people may not be as aware of in the first place, and just bring attention, holding checks and balances on what happens with what the students really feel is needed. And then in the world at large, on the Connecticut Board of Education, I work to bring the student perspective and the student voice to the policies that are happening, and kind of make sure that the people who are being most impacted by the changes and the policies we're instituting have a say in that process, as well as bringing that process to the students. Like, for example, last meeting I learned that there's a funding program for teachers in which they can take funds to travel somewhere to get an enrichment experience that can help their classes, they can bring back to help their students. And I didn't know that. I could come to school, I'm going to tell my teachers that this is an opportunity. So that is, and that's how I feel civic engagement has been a part of my life, and I definitely hope to continue to be civically engaged, and I hope that this initiative inspires all of us to kind of step into that system of participating in our communities and in the larger world.
Thank you, Natalie. Absolutely so important, especially with social media and the things that are going on in our communities now. Thank you. Jabril.
How I'm civically engaged in my school, I'd say I'm president of the Student Senate here at CLHS, and kind of to be the voice for the student body and voice for the community. And it's really important to bring these ideas out to the table and make them a reality. And it kind of does, like Natalie was saying, reflect what happens after high school and kind of the civic engagement process. Like our senator said earlier about the democratic process as well, and preparing us better off. And here, kind of driving community at the school, like planning school events or making sure students' proposals are brought to light, and students feel more comfortable in this environment and have a school they're proud to call their own.
So I'm vice president of our school student senate. I lost to Jabril. But we do a lot of what he said. We get input from our students and try and put in what they want to see in the school, the changes that they want. And outside of school, I'm pretty involved in my church. We do a lot of volunteering, lots of community service, also public service days here at school, lots of civic engagement.
Okay, so I was working with Mr. Larson for a while to bring awareness to sexual assault, which was really fun. So that was like bringing awareness to everybody with it. We had a situation and people felt like they weren't getting enough for it. So we got those people to come and talk to us, show their voices. And we brought their voices to Mr. Larson. We were just talking about it with them. Outside of school, I do community service with my best friend a lot. Help my neighbors out because they're old. Like, they just need help, and yeah.
To be honest, I'm an everyday student. I am somebody that helps, like when, how when kids are afraid to talk about personal situations with teachers, like, the guidance counselors and just principals or just teachers in general. I'm that person that they could come to for comfort. Outside of school, I help my neighborhood, like I have this elderly lady that lives right next to me. Help her cut her lawn, help her just around the house, stuff that, an everyday human does.
As I think of this new program, there's so many avenues that we could come and go as far as proposals and different things that we could do as this comes to life here in the state of Connecticut. Any of our other panelists?
I'd just like to say quickly that I think if students are going to be able to be involved civically, adults need to make space for that, right? And so the question that the adults in the room should be asking themselves is, what are we doing to create space for student input and give them the opportunity to lead themselves? Oftentimes we think that helping them is telling them what to do, and what we really need to do is just create space. I see two of our student senators are here. I have a district-wide student senate. We met for 2 hours this morning to talk about what's happening, what's going on, and give them input as to what they want to see happening in their district. And I think we all need to figure out ways to make space for student voice.
And I hope that this inspires in the future just students to be more involved in conversations pertaining to how their schools are being led, that if this is successful, then this can encourage more such initiatives, and even on a district level, just inspire even more student activism and making, like you said, making space for students to give their input on what's happening around the school.
Giving voice is really critically important. I always like to say it's not about them without them. So, right, everything we do in education is about you, right? Making sure that you have all your supports, everything that you need, your needs are met. And so it's really important to hear your voice. How are things going? What can we improve upon? And that's what I'm here, that we're talking about today. And that's what we're hearing you say at this point in time. I do have a question, if I can go there. Just with everything that's happened and things we've talked about this morning, any spark of ideas yet as to what you'd be able to do with this kind of program and funding that we're talking about? if we're giving you a voice for change, any thoughts and ideas yet on what you could be thinking about?
I really enjoy Public Service Day, to be honest with you. When Monday came along, I've never seen our school so connected, so committed to a goal. It's like a positive outcome. It's something that feels motivated to do. So if we were to, add more days like that, or maybe, activities that include outdoor, just stuff so kids have the opportunity to move around and, just feel a little bit free. Maybe that may help.
So I'm just going to jump in and just educate there. So at Civic Leadership, we have semi-annual. We have 2 public service days a year where we shut down the entire building and everybody goes out to do community service. And this past Monday was our first one back live in person since the pandemic hit. We had done virtual ones, but it's not the same. And so we had a chance this past Monday, and we kept all of our activities to outside. We usually go to like food share or elementary schools to read to kids, and the veterans homes to give back to the community. The kids, it's the best day here because they come in and they're kind of grumpy. When they come back, they have a huge smile because they know what they did to that day was exceptional. So just to give you some background, good stuff. Any others?
So we do, Public Service Day, go out into the community and see this wonderfully diverse community. Here the panelists are all diverse. This school is really diverse, and one suggestion would be like a larger scale multicultural event and kind of tying all these wonderful communities together and learning more about each other. And as a community, once we're united, we're able to reach our goals and, truly be unified as a community, which allows us to accomplish these.
I want to agree with Jabril's idea because I think it brings in our families, and like you said, we're very diverse. We could even bring in some community restaurants. I know in our school we have a lot of family-owned food businesses, restaurants that we could bring in and allow our school to see our community outside of school and inside of the school.
I agree with what everybody said with community service, just bringing in people, from the school. I think that because with the community service on Monday, not a lot of people showed up, and it was really fun. So I think that it should be more enforced, so we can just come together better as a community, and people aren't skipping out on that. So I just think that community service should be more enforced than what it was.
So at Staples, we have something called connections periods, which are meant to focus on our values as a break, our school values as a break in our schedule for everyone to go to another classroom and to discuss pertinent issues at the time. And while this was a really good vision and it does bring a lot, it does help our community, in theory, practice sometimes it gets more mundane or students are not as excited about going to connections. So I was thinking about something that could improve that, because at Staples we have the fancy water bottle fillers. We have great teachers, great resources. It's a really great school. I feel so fortunate to go to Staples. And the one thing that I think we would benefit the most from is more of a cultural awareness and more of a focus on diversity, because Staples we kind of feel like we live inside of this bubble. And once we go into the real world, in college or in careers, just in the future, you work with people from different countries, from different parts of the United States, even from around the world. And so something was when I was a delegate to the Youth Leadership Summit at Singapore. It was a virtual summit this past summer. I met so many students from across the world, Singapore, China, India, in Europe, in Japan, in South Korea, and made so many great friends. So I was thinking during the connections periods, perhaps there could be a program like month or at some point to have students from across the world Zoom with us and kind of create some sort of partnership. Maybe that's possible as an idea.
So, no, thank you for that. We're excited and looking forward to hear even more. proposals as you're thinking about them, but just wanted to make sure that the juices were already flowing about what it is that you're able to do. So thank you.
Governor, you have a question?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys my age thought we had all the really good ideas. Senator Kissel and I think we have all the good ideas. We got it figured out. Principal Larson and Mr. Sullivan. And I found in life that the bigger the table, the more ideas you get, the better the ideas are. And I've just been hearing your ideas, and this is why I'm glad we're doing this. I'll say something else I've learned. I want you to have a stake in the outcomes as well. When these are your ideas and you have some resources to make those ideas happen, you're going to be extra incented to make sure it works. And I like having people with a stake in the game and incentives to make it happen. And that's part of what this program is about. As Charlene, our amazing Commissioner of Education, pointed out, I want more people involved. We want your parents involved. We want teachers to have this same opportunity. This is an incredibly unique time in education because we actually have additional resources. Allows us to be a little more experimental, try some new ideas. We're going to get the best ideas by listening to the people who are directly impacting them, each and every one of you.
Thank you. And I know, speaking for our superintendent, talking about this is the times to reimagine how we approach education. And so I got one final question here. And I believe one of the biggest issues coming out of the pandemic is the social emotional health of our students and staff. It has also brought to light the inequities of our educational systems. So how do you see a program like this helping in those areas? To be clear, social emotional health and equity.
Put some meat on those bones, keep it real. Social and emotional health. We've got an awful lot of stress going on. We have examples of violence. We have examples of real depression going. A lot of this, I think, was accelerated to some degree by what's going on in the last year and a half of the pandemic. So I think that's what Jeff is asking. What are the type of programs we can do to make it easier for people?
So for our school, I feel like our school community is so good at helping students with their emotional and mental health. Last summer, I lost my dad unexpectedly, and the school just rallied all their teachers. It was during a pandemic, and we still felt that support from our school. And I think funding for programs like that would allow students to connect with their teachers, or just to open up to someone that's not in their house, because sometimes that's where they feel most comfortable. I think that would be really helpful in helping students with their education and keeping their distractions separate from their learning.
Like Agnes was saying, this school does have a really good job at enforcing the community and family between staff, teachers, and parents. The pandemic was a really tough time for everyone, myself included, and I wasn't really acting myself, and a lot of staff would reach out and make sure they were there and offer their resources. And I feel like expanding these resources and like Mr. Larson was saying about inequity, a lot of students didn't have proper access to food or technology, and the school did offer programs to help bring students what they were lacking, and I feel like on a wider range that would help bridge this inequality.
I feel like me personally, I don't know, off the top of my head, I can't think of a certain program, but if we could figure out a program to where kids are able to forget, at that moment in time, forget all the stress they've been through and have gone through, or currently going through, maybe, team building or, some time off of class, something that is going to make them, mentally, motivated to want to do things. Yeah, but other than that, our school is really good. Like Agnes and Jabril said, they're really good with support. And I personally right now can't think of anything that we can better.
I don't want to speak for you, Commissioner, but that sounds like a proposal to me. I'm just saying.
So I think we just need somewhere for students to go that they just feel safe. Not like a counselor or a teacher, because sometimes students, like, they don't feel safe there because they feel like the teachers are going to go and, like, tell somebody. And they feel the same thing about counselors, because students have said, like, oh, I told, like, a counselor this, and they went and told, like, DCF, and now, like, I'm in more trouble at home and all that. So I just think there's somewhere students need to go that they feel safe enough to talk about their feelings before it turns into something bigger, like a fight or something. So, yeah.
And then going off of what Naeem and Kalina said, I think if we put more focus into like after school programs, like in arts, or I know a lot of us play sports and that's a good outlet for whatever's going on at home, but I think like staying after school, you're out of the house, you're spending time with like your peers and your teammates, and that can help a lot with mental and emotional health.
Kind of to bounce off what they were saying about extracurriculars, and our school does offer some like sports and so on, but kind of expanding the roster of options and making sure students have this outlet for their creative expression and to get their mind off things, and having these options, to tie it back to education, it does help them feel more engaged in their learning environment, and will overall lead to more engaged students who, enjoy learning.
When I think of students being motivated to do something, when I think of students coming together, when I think of civic engagement, the first thing that comes to mind are the many clubs that students make themselves, that students apply to our assistant principals. They pitch, they organize, they lead, they join, they rally behind. We have clubs that are so diverse. We have Inklings and math team and debate team, but we also have clubs meant to promote mental health and emotional well-being. We have clubs that aim to serve underserved districts or help other communities and do community service. And one thing that I'm thinking that can help clubs, I know in Inklings that we've ran into this problem, in terms of funding and budgeting for the clubs, it would be great to have some sort of like a credit card or some sort of system where we can use that to apply for programs, whether like if we want to make if we want to make an app that Inklings uses, or if another club wants to gain access to some resource that would help improve its impact, to kind of draw from that to apply to get that fund, because right now we're being told that we can't get that money. We can get money in a different way, but not in the way that we would need. We can't have a credit card. We can't apply for something like an app. So as a proposal, something like that in a way that would not only help Inklings, but any other club, that just makes things easier for students to make the change that they want to make every day, because they're so motivated. All of these students are motivated, all the students at this school and at my school, for different reasons, different interests, but very engaged. And when we're given that forum to take our own ideas and act with them, like with this initiative, we can take our vision and have a voice to create something that we can rally behind, because it's not administrators telling us that this will be good for us, and oftentimes it isn't. That works great too, but it's us saying that this is where we want to go as a school, as a community, and that's civic engagement to me.
And that's your voice. So everything that you've talked about here are all potential proposals. And even though you may not have the program per se, it is about, you can do this as a team. So you can get together with your colleagues and your peers and figure it out, right? This is a place to try them. The webinars that we've talked about will allow all of you in that space to learn from each other, to hear what others are thinking, and to spark your own additional ideas. So there's nothing off the table here. Be as creative as you can be, as innovative as you can be. It is yours to really address how you see fit. And social emotional learning, critically important. Safe spaces, right, that you've talked about. What could that look like? And certainly, I'm sure Mr. Larson here, your administrators are there to help you talk through and think through some ideas, because ultimately we're going to put the winning ideas to life, right? That's where the funding comes in. So go at it. I think there's just everything that you can do here is open for your consideration and for you to process through.
And I also think that as leaders, I listen to the students And I can't speak for Staples. I haven't been to Staples in a while, but I could speak for CREC, and I know when it comes to students and resources, they do everything in their power to give our students as many resources as possible. But I think it's our job as leaders to eliminate the roadblocks. We clearly have the ideas here. They're sitting amongst us. You guys are going to come up with the solutions faster than us. And it's our job, at least the way I see it, is to get those roadblocks out of the way. And I'll just say for our school, right, we're up in Enfield, and across the board, right, I have Bloomfield, New Britain, Glastonbury, Hartford, right? Great, we can have a club after school, but guess what? I can't get home, right? How do we eliminate those roadblocks? How do we take care of the transportation or the little things that keep people from participating? And that's our job, and that's what I'm going to take away from this. But I thank you all for your comments and your ideas, and I know they're going to keep coming, especially from this group over here. And listening to you, I know they're going to come from there. That being said, I just want to give a moment for some kind of, I know we don't have a lot of time, so just some closing remarks from our superintendent.
So I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this, and I think that public education across the country, but also here in Connecticut, is at a real transformational point. And what I'm taking away from today is that we need to create opportunity and space for students to have say in their future. And if we don't create that opportunity and space, we're going to miss the point. And so it's transformational time. It's time to reevaluate how we do things. And I think that the Voice4Change program is an excellent opportunity of leading with the idea that students need to have a say in their own future. So I'm appreciative.
Thank you all. We'll give certainly the governor the last words, but thank you again for sharing your thoughts and ideas with us. Thank you for CREC for facilitating today's roundtable, and for all those that joined us today. We're really excited and looking forward to supporting you as you go forward. Really think about this is our investment in you, and what you say and your voices matter to us. And I feel like let's go, right? Let's get the juices tuned up here and keep going, because we have a lot to accomplish together. So thank you very much. Governor?
Yeah, I like the idea about a safe place where I can talk confidentially with somebody, and I know that I have a warm ear, maybe an older mentor. Maybe you can do it for younger kids as well. I love the emphasis you have on diversity and outreach and helping people better understand each other going forward. A lot of great ideas. Then you have to start building on them, writing a really important grant, getting some advocates who stand up for what you believe. I'll give you a hint. If it was me, I might go to Mayor Bob. He was just elected now, and he used to be a teacher as well as a mayor. I heard a lot about civic engagement and leadership. I think he might have a pretty good perspective on what that is. And if you make it work here, we can take it around the rest of the state and show the nation what we can do. It's a big opportunity. Love being with you all.
So I just want to take a moment and just thank everybody for coming. I just have some small gifts for all of our presenters today, and just I want you all to make sure you rep these shirts with pride as you go around the state and back to Staples. Hey, just so you know, open applications have already started November 1st. If you want to come on over, you can come on over to our school. But we'd love to have you. But again, on behalf of Civic Leadership, the Capital Region Education Council, all of our students here, our faculty, administration, thank you so much for this fantastic event and opportunity for all students.
Thank you, guys.